Yeah. And what's your name? Your first name again?
Kara.
Huh?
Kara.
Kara.
All right, we are live at the zoo once again with the amazing Kara King. Hey, Kara, how's it going?
Girls, back here at the Sedgwick County Zoo. We're over here by the grizzly bears, and we have Kara with us. She's an educator at the zoo, and she's going to talk to us about North American animals.
I am so glad to be with you guys today. And the grizzly bear could not have had better timing because that's absolutely one of the things I wanted to talk about. So it's fall-ish. Doesn't really feel like fall out here, but pretty soon things are going to start to cool down, and the animals in North America are going to start making the adjustments they need to make for winter. And the grizzly bear is a great example of one of the animals that make adjustments. And right now, that grizzly bear is doing exactly what she needs to do to prepare for winter, and that's eat. She spends this time going through a period called hyperphagia. That's one of my favorite words because it means totally focused on eating. That's all she wants to do. She wants to pack on the pounds so that over the winter, she can burn that fat for energy and not have to get up and go look for food. So she just eats as much as she can. Now, here at Sedgwick County Zoo, our bears don't spend the winter hibernating, and it's not really necessary for them to pack on the pounds because we have fresh food available for them year round. But she will get super sleepy and less active as the season develops into winter. So we do keep an eye on their weight. They do end up losing some weight over the winter because they tend to eat less, but we still offer them all of their favorite snacks. So they don't take a big nap like wild bears would do. One of the weird things about bears is they're like the most famous hibernators ever. But bears don't truly hibernate. They just go to sleep. And then sometimes they wake up, go get a snack if the weather's right. Or if it's not, then they just stay asleep. But they don't go in, their body rhythms don't change like some other animals that hibernate. Now, bears are not the only animals getting ready for winter. There's lots of other animals. Some are big, some are small. And there might be things that you can do to help some of them. In a few weeks, the birds are going to start moving from their summer ranges to their winter ranges, if they're not moving already. Some of them are. And one of the things that we can do is to put out bird seed for those animals so that they can stop and fill up their fuel tanks so that they can keep going on their journey. But we don't want to make them stay, so we try not to start feeding too early. We just want them to stop for a snack on their way through. Some animals some birds fly thousands of miles each season between their winter grounds and their summer grounds. And so they really need all of the energy that they can get. So feeding birds is a way to help. Another way to help is, okay, I think you guys will like this. And it may take some convincing to get your parents on board, but if you could find one corner of your yard to leave messy and unraked over the winter into the late spring, there are a lot of very small friends that would thank you. Things like lightning bugs, ladybugs, even praying mantis will use that leaf litter and that cover to survive the winter. They aren't hibernating, they're just waiting to move into their next stage of life. Now, I have some cool things, but I'm going to have to bend down to get one. So give me just a second. I wanted to show you what you may see this fall. And it's a weird thing. When I was a little kid, I saw my first one of these, and I was sure that it was a trilobite or one of those ancient fossilized organisms. This is a praying mantis egg case. And so we had one on our oak tree branch, not last year, but year before, and we watched it all winter long. We were positive it was going to hatch and a gazillion little praying mantis babies were going to come out of it. It never happened. We don't know what happened to the egg case, but we were very careful to leave it alone so that we could watch it in the spring if it did hatch. So these kinds of things are going to be going on all around you and you don't even notice them. I love ladybugs. because they're really cute. They don't generally bite, and they eat things that eat the plants that I like to grow in my garden. And ladybugs will overwinter in those leaf piles as larvae or eggs, sometimes even adults. So if we have those places in our yards for those things to hide, we can actually have them do some services for us in the spring when they wake up. They wake up, they need a place to lay their eggs and food for them to eat. So those ladybugs lay their eggs on our garden plants, and then those eggs hatch and they start eating all kinds of aphids. Ladybug babies are one of the most interesting looking larvae you'll ever see. I've got a model of a ladybug larva. It's not the real thing, but let me show you. Oh, I've got two of them, but we only need one. So this is a very large example, and it's plastic, but that's really what a ladybug larva looks like. It looks, I don't know why, but I feel like it looks like an alligator, like a little tiny alligator. And the first time I saw one of these on my plants, I was sure that it was not a good friend to have, but I was wrong. This little ladybug larva runs around on those plants and eats hundreds of aphids. And aphids are bugs that drink the juice from the leaves of your plant and actually can end up killing your plants. So these guys are so awesome to have around. I love ladybug larvae. Now another animal that might be around, probably not in your leaf litter, might be, and I'm gonna do the whole like influencer thing and put my hand behind it so they can see real good. But this is a dragonfly, and right now the dragonfly adults are busy eating everything they can find inside of their diet. One of the reasons I like dragonflies so much is because they eat mosquitoes. So the dragonflies are eating so that they'll have the energy to lay eggs, and they lay eggs in the water. Their larvae are aquatic. And so what happens is they lay their eggs in the water. Uh-oh, what's on me? I'm not a flower, it won't bother me. So they lay their eggs, and then the eggs hatch. And you know what they do? They swim to the bottom of the stream and look for a rock or a stick or something else to hang on to. And then they eat water bugs. So these guys are predators all their lives. So when you're out maybe walking through a park or somewhere that might have a stream or a pond, you may see dragonflies dipping down to the water, especially the plants that are right next to the water. They're laying their eggs right there on the stream side so that they'll be ready to go and become their aquatic form. So dragonflies of all sizes are getting ready for the winter. Now, some animals leave for the winter or migrate, but there's some really cool animals in Kansas that don't leave and are actually a little easier to spot in the fall because there's less leaves for them to hide behind. This is a wing of one of those animals. We think about this animal a lot at Thanksgiving time. Most of us do not eat this one because we eat the ones we get at the grocery store, but this is the wing from a wild turkey. Wild turkeys can live right up by people, and sometimes they don't even know it. The wild turkeys will walk around in the woods during the day if you have any woods close to your house, and they'll eat things like acorns or lizards or berries. They are not picky. And then at night, they'll fly. Yes, I said it. They will fly into the low branches of trees to spend the night because the ground is a dangerous place to be for a sleeping turkey. Things like bobcats and coyotes would love a turkey dinner. But if they're up in the low branches of the trees, then those coyotes and bobcats can't get to them as easy. And then that also gives them a chance to wake up and fly off. Now, the turkeys that we find at the grocery store, that we purchase from the grocery store, are usually all white. They're domestic turkeys. So they'll be all white, and they're much fatter than the wild turkeys we see because we've bred them to give us as much meat as possible. Wild turkeys also don't taste like the turkeys that we get at the grocery store because they're eating totally different foods. They're eating acorns and bugs and lizards. The turkeys that we eat at Thanksgiving eat turkey cereal, basically. They eat commercial food. So it's a processed food like cereal that the big farms feed their turkeys to help them gain as much weight as possible, as quickly as possible. Wow. And these guys have great, oh, I made it floof everywhere, sorry. They have great camouflage for Kansas because they can walk around in those areas like right by the trees, and they are very hard to see. And then there's another animal that we start to see a lot more of in the fall, and they wear these on their head, but only the boys wear them. And the boys wear these antlers to make themselves look good for the ladies. It's sort of like sometimes guys will go to the gym and build up their muscles to look good for the ladies. Well, these guys show that they're the most handsome by having great antlers. And they use them to fight with each other during mating season. They use them to look ladies, and then they fall off. So in the fall and into the winter, the boys are very interested in the girls, and they're all moving around. And so in the fall, if you're driving with your grown-ups, when it's starting to get dark, warn them to be careful because the deer might be trying to cross the road. And when they're trying to cross the road, the only thing they're thinking about is looking for girls. And I'll never forget that the only time I've had an accident involving a deer was right at Thanksgiving time. So that really makes me think of that, and that makes me think of fall. So do you guys have any questions for us yet? I do. Yeah. Hold on, got to do the on-air ones first.
They want to know, do you know about how much food one of those grizzly bears would eat, like in the wintertime versus the summertime?
I know lots of things, but that I don't know. They're going to eat probably 60 to 70% less so in the winter than they do in the summer. But I do have a great food fact about grizzly bears. There are some grizzly bears that live near the top of the mountains where the trees stop growing. We call that the timberline. And those grizzly bears that live in this one area will go up above where the trees grow, and it's nothing but rocks. And those grizzly bears know that under those rocks in the morning are a bunch of moths that are cold and can't fly away. So they flip those rocks over and they start eating those moths, and they can eat as many moths in a day. That would be, so let me rephrase that. They will eat enough moths in a day to have the same amount of calories as 62 Snickers bars. That's a lot of calories. And so the more food they can get in, the better. They're never done eating in the fall. What other questions do you guys have?
Are there any kinds of ladybugs that would be poisonous?
All ladybugs taste bad, which is a great thing if you are a predator looking for a meal and you don't, or if you're a ladybug who doesn't want to get eaten by a predator looking for a meal. It would taste bad. It might even make the animal feel gross. And so they're all poisonous if you eat them. It may not affect a person, but it could affect a tiny bird. And I bet if a bird ate one ladybug, they'd never do it again. Yuck.
And then the bears here at the zoo, they've seen bears like on TV shows eat fish. Would they eat fish too?
They get fish as part of the animal diet. So their diet, they're omnivores, which means they eat everything. Their diet has fruits and vegetables and meat products like beef and lots of fish. So they do get lots of fish in their diet.
And then you may have mentioned it, but what type of deer did those come from?
That was a great question. These are from white-tailed deer, and those are the kind that we have here in this area. But there's another kind of deer that have very similar antlers, and they're called mule deer. They just have a little bit different body shape and their ears are very big. And we don't have those right around here. They usually live in a little bit drier areas.
And then we have one more question about deer.
Okay.
They want to know, like, we live in a pretty big city, but we see them driving down in the, just on the outskirts of town. Like, why would they be so close?
So as our city grows and expands, sometimes little pockets of habitat that the animals like deer or turkey or foxes need to survive they just stay. Maybe it's a park. Maybe it's where the river goes through. So there's areas even in our cities that wild animals can live in. So I live near a park called Swanson Park, and there's deer in there. I've been running through there and scared them up, and they go running away. And there's turkey there too.
Yes, I've seen them there as well.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for
You're
sharing
welcome.
information with us this afternoon. And we will get headed to our next stop, and we hope to see everyone else at our next stop in a few minutes. Thank you.
Bye, guys.